Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More. Welcome to another one of my videos. This one we're talking about 10 key factors when flipping houses. So major things to think about before, during, and after the flip to make you the most money and to avoid the biggest disasters. Now most of these things I've done myself, and I'll kind of tell you the stories that go along with how I learned these lessons, either the easy way or the hard way. I was going to do a video on rental property number 27 today, but I think it's getting delayed. I was supposed to buy it today, right before the end of the year. Now it might not close, we'll see. But that's a very interesting one with 3 houses and a commercial property. So I want to show that to you guys as soon as I have it. And then I also made an offer on another commercial property that's almost 20,000 square feet, a very interesting property. And it's been 18 days now, still no response from the seller. So that happens sometimes in commercial. The time frames are so much different than dealing with houses. But hopefully, they said after the start of the year, they will get a response for me and we'll see where we go from there. All right, back to this main video here. I have an article that's coming out today as well that goes over these same topics we're talking about here. But why is it important to know all this when you're flipping houses? Because they don't tell you everything on house flipping shows. We just did a video last week on house flipping shows and how much they leave out. Well, we're trying to not just complain about what they do, but tell you what you should do instead and add value. So hopefully this helps. Now, the first thing on my list is don't stretch your numbers. All right, we've done this a lot in the past. When I was flipping houses with my dad to just me, especially at auctions, it can be so easy to bid more than you think you should. You know, you're in that room, either like the public trustee auction or an online auction, and someone else is bidding against you and you really want to beat them. It's like, man, if I just bid one more time, maybe I'll get it. And my number should be okay. And then they bid, oh, just one more time. I'll just bid another time. And pretty soon you're paying $10,000, $15,000 more than you're supposed to pay. And now all of a sudden, maybe you get that deal and it's like, ooh, I really shouldn't have bought this. What are we going to do to make this work? And that's happened to me a few times, and usually it does not work out well, right? There isn't some magical thing that happens that reduces your costs or makes the house sell for more. You just don't make as much money as you should have, or sometimes even lose money. And we've done that on houses before, where we have lost money on flips because we bid more than we're going into the sale. So don't stretch your numbers to make a deal work. A lot of people, especially beginners, will do that, where like, oh, you know, I really should pay $100,000 for this, but man, someone else is paying $110,000, so they must know something that I don't. They know it's a good deal. I can do $112,000 and still get a deal. Don't do it. Stick to your numbers, especially in the beginning when you don't have to have a deal. It can be frustrating, it can take a while, but stick to those numbers and make sure you're paying what you know you should be paying for the deal. All right, number 2, don't take on massive remodels. I still am learning this one, as many of you know. We just bought a house with a really bad foundation. I was hoping it'd be $50,000 to fix it. I may be wrong, it might be more than that. We're waiting for the engineer to go back and see it. You can see that video from last week as well on our channel. But in general, the last few years, my biggest, worst house flips have been massive remodels. And it's tough because you go into a deal, man, there's so much room. I can put $50,000, $70,000 into this house, still make a ton of money. How can I lose in this property? And what happens is you go into it, and that $50,000 turns into $100,000. And it seems like such a lot of money, but it can happen on a rehab. And then you're not flipping the house in 6 months, all of a sudden you're flipping the house in a year, or maybe 14 months or 18 months, which we've done before. And every month you hold that property, you're paying property taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, financing costs, and all of a sudden, when you get all the numbers written down and you figure out what happened, you didn't make any money, or maybe you lost money, or you barely made money, and you sunk all this time and all these resources into this property. And that's one of the biggest things for us. We have from 10 to 20 flips going at once. I think we have 13 right now, and our biggest roadblock is finding enough contractors to do these houses. So we can't have one contractor working on a house for 6 months. It takes away all these other projects they could be working on and pushes everything back. So we're really trying not to do big, massive remodels anymore. And one reason I did the foundation house was we have a really good foundation company who we found, and they would be doing almost all of the major work. It wouldn't be my own contractors or other guys. They can keep working on other projects while this company does the foundation. So we'll see if it was a good plan or not. Maybe not. But for right now, my goal and plans are really to not take on these big remodel jobs and focus on the smaller ones, even though it's not easy for me to do. All right, next one. When you're making some of these mistakes, like buying a house for too much money or having a massive remodel, your tendency is, well, I have to make up for this somehow. Like, how can I make up for all this money I spent? Let's just price the property higher than we think it's worth. You can't do that. That's just going to make the problem even worse. And we have done that before. We've been in a market in Colorado where prices have been rising, and sometimes we get away with pricing it high. But lately, we're seeing our market kind of stable out, and we really can't do that. And in the past, our strategy was always to price houses a little bit less than what we think they're worth, because it's more advantageous to us to sell houses quickly, move on, and keep doing more deals than to hold a house for months just trying to scrape out $5,000 or $10,000 extra dollars. We want to keep our money moving. And when you overprice a house, you're asking for so many problems. First off, if you price a home too high, people aren't going to look at it, right? You can't just decide what a house is going to sell for. You have to look at the comps in the neighborhood. Sometimes neighborhoods have caps on how much money you can ask for a house. And that's why it's important not to over-improve them, because you don't want a house that's over-improved for the neighborhood. And you need to price it where people will find it and buy it. If you're overpriced, the house will sit on the market. Now when the house sits on the market, even if you lower the price a month or two later, people are like, well, why is it on the market for so long? What's wrong with it? And that happens all the time to houses. You see all these other houses selling in 2 weeks. Why is this one sitting for 2 months? There must be something wrong with it. People won't even look at it, even if it's priced right now. And then you'll find out, oh, you have to lower the price again. Now you're selling for 5 or 10% less than it would have sold for if you priced it right to begin with. So I don't even price my homes anymore. I let Nikki, my project manager, do it, because sometimes I have that tendency to want to, push it, get more money. She's more non-emotional about it. And we'll look at the comps, like, this is where we should be. And I've just said, okay, I'm not going to fight with you. If anything, sometimes I might be, okay, we'll price it lower than that to get it sold quick. But I'm not pushing it to sell it for a lot more, because I know it's more important to sell fast and move on than to scrape out every last dollar. And if we price too high, it can make things even worse. All right. Something else that I've learned over the years, especially before I had Nikki, when I had some of my other project managers who didn't work out very well, visit the job sites often. So I tell this story quite a bit. This was 10 years ago, probably. We hired a new contractor, had tons of references, used with all kinds of, had been used by all kinds of other investors we knew, had been an ex-builder, great reputation, and this was kind of during the downturn, so he wasn't building houses. He started one job for us, did a great job, finished it. We're like, okay, great. He's like, hey, I can do as much as you need. I've got a huge crew. So we're like, all right, why don't we do 2 houses at once this next time? So we did one house close to us, it was like 5 miles away. Another one that was farther away, maybe 30 miles away. So we'd check on the house that was closer, doing great. But because I was lazy, we didn't go to the houses farther away for at least a month. But he said, hey, everything's progressing great, getting close to being done. So I'm like, hey, I really need to go out here. Let's go drive out, see what this house looks like. So drive out there, get to the house, nobody's there, and it looks exactly the same as when we bought it. Open up the door, exactly the same. No work had been done. He was supposedly working on it for at least a month, and it was almost done. So we talked to him. He's like, oh, hey, yeah, my guys, they said they were working on it. They must not have been. So he had not been to the house either. And that just shows, no matter how good someone's reputation is, how professional they seem, how good they've done in the past, you have to visit the job site often. And I'd say at least once a week, if not more. Now, if we have an active job where there's a contractor supposed to be working, we're there once a week, if not more, to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. We can answer any questions for them, make sure they're working and there, and then, see if what they're doing is right? Sometimes, communication is not perfect, and they might think we meant something else when we meant this, thing over here. So we want to make sure everything's on the same page. The sooner we can catch a problem, the less money it'll cost us, the easier we can get it fixed. So make sure you visit the job sites often. Now this is a big one, this next factor that you see on the house flipping shows. It drives me crazy. I talked about it before, accounting for all the numbers. So it's really hard, and it's really frustrating too, to figure out how much a flip will actually cost you. Why is it frustrating? Because it always seems like it should be so much less than it actually is. Even for me, I'm like, oh, we made like $40,000 on this house. And you see the numbers, and it's like, oh, we made like $25,000. What happened? It's just, there's so many expenses that go into flipping, and you have to make sure you know them all. Financing is big. Most people don't have $250,000 in cash to flip just one house, right? You have to use financing, and keeping track of exactly what those costs are, whether you're using hard money, private money, bank money. You need to know what those costs are, and I have a video that goes over those as well, how to finance house flips. Just search for that term and it'll pop up, or I'll try to remember to link to it, but it shows the cost for each of those loans for me. I think it's a pretty good video. But you need to know those costs. You need to know carrying costs. Like I said before, you're paying property taxes, you're paying insurance, you're paying utilities the whole time you own the house. Utilities can add up in a vacant house. You have to keep it warm if you're in a cold climate. You have to keep the electricity on so guys can work. The water is going to be on. You have to pay those utilities. You have to maintain the lawn, do snow removal, all kinds of things that go into buying and selling these houses. Plus, you might have to have an inspection done, an appraisal done, closing costs, title costs, attorney fees if you're in a state that has attorneys, transfer taxes, HOA fees. So many things go into it. You have to make sure you're accounting for all of that. Plus, at the end, you're paying real estate agents to sell the house, more closing fees, more title fees. Maybe the buyers want credits for their closing costs. After you've got all the work done, the buyer's probably going to come back with their inspection and have a list of things they want done on top of that. So really, you have to plan for so many more costs than you think. And it makes no sense to lie to yourself and pretend you're making money when you're not. So make sure you know those numbers. That's one of the biggest mistakes flippers make. And yes, I have done that as well. All right. Something else that happens to quite a few people in the beginning is blindly trusting people who know nothing about house flipping. So there's a lot of people in this industry who think they know how house flipping works, the numbers, how to find deals, and they don't. So if you're thinking about getting into this business, right, you probably need a real estate agent, you probably need some type of lender, you probably need a title company, you probably need a contractor. There's a lot of moving parts that go into flipping a house, and all of those people are probably going to think they know how to do it, and they might be giving you their opinion when it's only going to hurt you. So just, you don't have to be mean to them. You don't have to tell them they don't know what they're talking about. Just make sure you're the one making the decisions, and you're the one who has the plan and going over all the numbers. Don't blindly trust someone else. A lot of real estate agents will say, oh, there's so much room in this house to flip. You can buy it for $150,000, and it's probably worth $190,000 when you're done. It only needs $30,000 in work. You're gonna make $10,000. They're not even including their fee. They're gonna charge you when they're done, plus all the other costs. You really have to do this yourself. Contractors will do this a lot too and be like, oh, I saw you sold that house for $250,000 and you only bought it for $150,000. You must have made 70 grand on that because I only charged you $30,000 to fix it up. And it's like, no, we had another 30 or 40,000 in costs in it. So you have to be careful with them too. They don't start gouging you because they think you're making all this money in the business. So a lot of people, lenders will tell you how to do it. Agents will tell you how to do it. You can use their input, get their opinion on things. Don't blindly trust everything they say. Trust, but verify. Make sure their values are right. Make sure the repair costs are in line with what they should be. You're in charge of this business. You're the one flipping the house. There aren't shortcuts. You need to make sure you know how all the moving parts are working and what everything is going to take to get this house flipped. This is a big one too, and we've kind of talked about it before, but everything will take longer than you think it will. You see these house flipping shows, and it's like they bought the house, got it fixed, and sold it in 3 months. That maybe has happened once to me in like 190 deals. The thing is, there's so many moving parts to flipping a house. It takes a lot of time, especially if you're doing multiple deals at once. So here's kind of the time frame of what happens to us when we flip a house. So one, find the house, get it under contract. A couple weeks later, we'll buy it. That house will usually sit around for 2 or 3 weeks while we figure out what we're doing with all our other projects. And be like, oh yeah, we bought this house a couple weeks ago. We should probably do something with it. So then we'll probably get someone to go demo it, get a dumpster out there. Then when that's done, we'll say, oh man, we've got our other contractors lined up here on other projects for like another 6 weeks. Maybe we'll try someone new, or maybe we'll just wait. But usually that house sits around for a while other contractors are ready. And even if you don't have a lot of projects going, remember, as soon as you buy that house, there's a very small chance that whoever you're having do the work is going to be ready right that second to jump on the job. They might have other jobs, they might be scheduled out, they might be 2 weeks away, they might be 2 months away. So it helps to tell them as soon as you can when you're buying the house and when you want the work started, because that's a big delay, is actually starting the work. Even if it only takes a month to do the work, that doesn't mean they're going to start the day you buy it. So once the work starts, we have a lot of moving parts because we use a lot of subs. We'll have guys who do kitchens, baths, windows, and we have painters come in, we'll have roofers, we'll have electricians, plumbers. So we have to kind of make that all work, which can take some time. But in general, when you're flipping houses, you find things that are wrong that you didn't know about. You open up walls, you get into electrical, you get into plumbing. So what you think was going to take a month or 6 weeks takes 2 months or 3 months. It's very rare we can get a full rehab done in less than 3 months with all the moving parts going on. Sometimes, but it's rare. So once you get all the repairs done, you're still not ready to list because we've got to get it cleaned. So first off, actually I skipped a step. We've got to make sure all the work's actually done. So we go in, blue tape, inspect everything. Usually I have to send the guys back in, fix the stuff they didn't fix, touch up things. Then we have to schedule the cleaners. Then we schedule the staging company to come in as well. Then we schedule it to be have professional photos done. So that whole process can take another week or two. Then we get it listed and put on the market. Now a house doesn't sell the first day it's on the market in most cases. Usually it takes a week or two in a very good market with a very good price. If you're not pricing them aggressively, it might take a month, 2 or 3 months to even get the house under contract. So then you get the house under contract. Now you've got to wait another month or even 45 days for that buyer to close on their loan, to do the deal, to get their inspection done, their appraisal done, all of that stuff. So when all's said and done, if you get this flip done in 6 months, you're probably doing a good job. But there's so many things that can make it take even longer, right? Let's say you get a buyer, all of a sudden their loan falls through 3 weeks later. Now you have to put the house back on the market, wait another 2 weeks, find another buyer, go through the whole process. You just added 2 months to the timeline. What if you find a major repair? That could add a month or two. If you don't have the contractors available right now, that could add a month or two. So it's really easy to think you can flip a house in 3 months, and then you find yourself 6 or 7 months later down the road, and it's not even listed yet. So remember, everything takes longer. Account for that. And remember, all your costs go up the longer you keep that house as well. All right, here's something else. Just because other investors are paying more than you are doesn't mean you should pay what they're paying. So I see this in Colorado a lot right now with houses. House flippers are paying so much money for flips from wholesalers, from the MLS, from auctions, and it's easy to get caught up in that mentality of, well, they're a really good flipper, they do a lot of deals, and they're willing to pay this much for houses. I should be able to do the same thing. And there's just so many things you don't know. You can't use that line of thinking to buy deals. You have to use your own numbers, your own line of thinking to do it, because you just don't know what all goes on in their business. Maybe they're losing money. Maybe they have their own construction company that they're keeping busy, and that's how they're making money. Maybe they are paying all cash for their deals, but you're using financing. So there's so many factors where you have to look at your numbers and be comfortable with your profit margins. Because if you start paying too much for houses and the market turns, which it could do, you could find yourself in a world of hurt, and that is not something you want to do. So I have learned through experience myself that sometimes doing fewer deals is better. Doing fewer really good deals is better than doing a ton of marginal deals or mediocre deals. So don't get caught up in what other people are paying. Don't let wholesalers tell you you have to pay more. I have wholesalers all the time to me saying, hey, I got a great deal. I'm like, that's not a deal. That's not a good enough deal for me. And they start badgering me, telling me, oh, why it's such a good deal, trying to convince me that it's a good deal. I'm like, hey guys, I'm sorry. No, if this is such a good deal, you should be able to find other flippers who will buy it from you, but it's not a good deal for me. And sometimes they find other flippers, sometimes they don't. So I want to make sure the deal works for me and my numbers. I'm not worried about what other flippers are paying. I'm not worried about what the wholesalers are telling me, other agents. I've got to stick to my guns and not be pressured by their opinions on what a good deal is. All right, almost done here. We're at number 9. I know I could be counting these out for you, but hopefully you're keeping track in your head. Constantly refining your business. So I've been doing this 17 years. Like I said, we flipped like 188 houses or something like that. I'm always learning. I'm still learning now. I don't know everything. We're constantly looking for ways to improve, do things cheaper, do things better. Some of the things we've done recently to improve our business, a lot of you will see on our house flipping videos, we started staging properties, right? We started doing professional photos. I think that helped a ton. For a long time, we didn't do that because we didn't really need to, or maybe I was just lying to myself. I didn't want to spend the money. But with our market changing, prices not as crazy, not going up as fast as they were, the staging has helped. I think we're definitely seeing our houses sell faster. We're getting more showings, and they just look so much better. It makes you prouder of the house that you do when you see these pretty pictures and staging, and I can post them on Instagram, and yay. But that's something we've changed. We're constantly changing how we're dealing with contractors. We used to use a GC in the past who was amazing. He retired, which sucks. But then we started going to a lot of subcontractors. Then we started hiring our own employees. Love having my own employees. We're constantly looking to refine things, make them better, and change how we do things. With financing too, I used to use the banks for almost everything. They got more difficult to work with. Then started using more private money. That was really easy to work with, but more expensive. Then started looking at hard money because it's so much cheaper, but more difficult to work with. So there's always those pros and cons to everything, but we're always looking at that, trying to refine how we can do things better, how we can make our time frames better, and how we can just make more money overall. And like I said, we've been thinking about doing fewer flips in this next year, which might actually make us more money because we're focusing on one project with more, effort, and really looking at it instead of treating it as like a machine that you go through, and getting better deals. So that might actually make more money with less work. So we're always refining, always trying to learn and do things better. Finally, the last one, a lot of people starting out don't think about time is money. Time is your most valuable asset. Do not waste it. Do not take it for granted. A lot of people buy houses and they do a lot of the things we just did. They stretch their numbers to make a deal work, and they decide, oh, I need to overprice a home. But before I do that, I'm gonna have to do all this work myself because we don't have enough margin to actually make any money. So I'm gonna do all this work on the nights and weekends. It'll only take me a few weeks. Then all of a sudden, it's taking them 6 months to do the work because they realized they can't do the same work a contractor can do full-time, part-time, and now all of a sudden you've extended your time frame. It can turn into a disaster. So do not plan to make your money by doing the work yourself. You're trading hours for dollars, and the chances are your time is more valuable doing other things like finding better deals, refining your business, finding better financing, private money, better contractors, better subs, whatever it is. If you're doing the house yourself, you're really costing yourself money for most people. I made that mistake myself, had my worst year ever. I hated it. It drove my wife crazy. I was at that stupid house all the time. I have a video on that stupid house too. Every time I still drive by that once in a while, I'm like, oh. But I learned a lot. I learned never to do that again. A lot of people say, oh, but you learned all this about construction. I can learn that on YouTube. There's so many resources out there. I didn't have to go through that to learn that process. I could have watched my contractors do it. I could just talk to my contractors and learn how to do all that stuff as well. So that was a huge mistake. and it took away so much time. That was the thing. It wasn't that, I was frustrated or, away from my family. It was that I took away time where I could be doing other valuable things, and it really hurt my business. So make sure you realize that saving time is often more important than saving a few dollars here and there. So if you can hire out simple, busy stuff, do it. If you can hire out the work, do it. Save your time for what's more important, like your family, yourself, working on the business, and not in the business. All right, those are all my tips for this video. There's much more. You can't cover everything on flipping houses in one video, one article, even a 2-hour-long podcast. There's just so much that goes into it. So check out our other videos we have on YouTube. We have before and after videos on just about every flip we do. Check those out. This article I'll link to as well, which goes over everything. I have a book, Fix and Flip Your Way to Financial Freedom, which is very in-depth and goes over all of these tips, plus more on financing, finding deals, repairing houses, contractors, selling, all that stuff. That's on Amazon as an audio book, paperback, and ebook. So check that out. If you have questions, leave them below. We appreciate the thumbs up as well. And we'll be back with more videos soon. Hopefully that new rental property I actually buy in the next week or two. And hopefully I get news on the other big one that's really exciting and is really going to fit this channel well. So hopefully I'll have that for you. And we do have another flip under contract to buy in the next week and a half or so. And we'll have a few more flips that are ready to list here soon. So we'll have after videos of them. So be sure to subscribe to get all that stuff. And we will be back soon.